Alrighty, so in a narcissistic family environment, when you have a narcissistic parent, the narcissist puts everyone in the role that supports them. So that they're controlling the family and dictating kind of the role that everyone plays. So in my family, I was the scapegoat, and that is the position where a lot of the negativity and blame gets placed on you. So I do have a little brother, and he was the golden child, and that's the person that the narcissist really loves and cares about, shows affection, and gives a lot of the praise to and good energy. So what ends up happening is you get this dynamic between the siblings of competing for affection and energy and love and attention. And from my perspective as a scapegoat, what ends up happening is I'd receive attention, love, affection, and just general attention in two ways. One way was I'd be really mean to my brother or just bad in general. And so I'd get a lot of attention from the narcissist, my narcissist mother, for just being bad. And so I kind of learned that's a way that you get attention from people is you're mean or you do bad things. And then on the extreme end of that was I would get a lot of attention from the narcissist by being really good at something, being an overachiever. And that's what today's video is about, is the overachieving scapegoat. And I think this happens to a lot of scapegoats that get in that position. And you learn that you get praise, love, and affection and attention from the narcissist parent, by being an overachiever, whether it's academics or sports or whatever it was. In my case, it was sports. So early on as a kid, I had natural talent in sports, and I played soccer. And for years, I was the best soccer player. And it's interesting to think about what drives people to become really good at something. And what was driving me was love, affection, and attention from a parent. And that's powerful. And so it drove me to excel at soccer and be really good. And as a child, I pursued that. That was my whole thing, was soccer. And I did really like it. I love sports. I love to be physical. And I love the camaraderie and being on a team and being a part of something. And it was great. And it did get me a lot of attention from the narcissist. But the thing about the narcissist, and when they approve of what you're good at, it works in your favor. But on the other hand, if what you're doing and what you're good at, they don't approve, then you won't get the attention and love that you're seeking. But when you do, when you find the thing they like, it's a double-edged sword, because the only reason they like what you do is because it builds them up. So now my mother, being a part of the soccer community and being a soccer mom and attending the games and tournaments. And so these are big events. We used to go to tournaments all over the state and compete and play, and it was really fun. But I didn't know, I'm just a kid, but the narcissist is loving it because she's getting so much attention as being the parent of one of the best soccer players. And we ran into this situation with her where she'd be at my soccer games, and she was so vocal and like animated in her cheering, at the games, that like it became a problem for the team. And I had to tell her, I had to block her from coming to the games because she was just like going crazy. And it's like, and then everyone's focused on her, and the coach and the team were like, dude, your mom is crazy. Like, tell her to stop with the cheering. And all the parents are cheering for the kids. It's exciting. The soccer game is it's high stakes. Like, it's really exciting. But the narcissist, man, like, she just had to, get the focus on her. So, that was the big childhood thing, and it worked for me. I was getting the love and the praise and attention that I wanted, and then it worked for the narcissist. But then, like, I kind of phased out of sports, and I was looking for something else to do, and so then I got into playing music. And I love playing music. I've been a musician for 25 years, and it has given me so much in life, and it's been amazing. But the fucking narcissist latched onto it, man. And so my whole music career, it is more just a hobby, but I took it really far. As far as in my local area, I've had a ton of bands. I've been in a bunch of bands. I've been a band leader for a long time. And I play multiple instruments, and I sing, and I write, and I've always played bluegrass and country music. Those have been the main kinds of music that I like to play and perform. But what's interesting, I was talking to my wife about it this morning, was every birthday for my narcissist mother, she demanded the band would play at her house. And this happened for years. I started playing when I was 18, and I've stopped because I got married and started having a family. So it's been about 10 years not really playing music. So this happened for a long time. And every birthday, it was like we had to do this big thing for my mom and get together, get the band together, and do a performance for her birthday. And then she could sit there with all her friends and, isn't my son so great? And so she was just taking that win for herself, because she could receive praise. Her son's the best. Again, he's the leader of this great band, and look how amazing it is. So obviously, as an adult, you want your mom to appreciate what you do and be rewarded for it. And so that was working. That was really good. But then, I meet my wife, and there's not any time to have a band and perform at 2 a.m. in bars and do all this stuff. It's now like I'm spending time with my wife, and we want to have a family and raise children. And so I didn't stop doing creative things and things I like to do. It's just I didn't have time for the music. So I got into woodworking. I've been a woodworker for many years and an artist. I like to paint and do sculptures. And so I really got into that. And what was interesting is I started doing that. So my wife and I and our oldest daughter moved to my folks' place, and I remodeled their guest house. I put a ton of money into it, fixed the thing up, super nice. And we had the idea of, let's move our family here and raise our kids with my mom and dad on their property. We'll fix up the guest house. I'll fix up the property. The property was a mess. They had this big shop that was a total mess. I cleaned that up, remodeled the whole thing, redid the electrical, plumbing, like everything. Got it super dialed in for woodworking and a good creative space. And I did all this before I knew my mom's a raging narcissist. And it was interesting. So I wasn't playing music anymore, and my mom lost this big part of her identity, was her son being this musician. And now I'm married to my wife, and the first thing my mom said to her was like, "Oh, are you going to play in a band with Danny? You guys going to start a band?" Because I had a band with my previous girlfriend that was like really big, and my mom and that girlfriend just like really, they really got along, and it was really weird. I got out of that, but my wife was like, "No, like I'm not going to start a band with Danny. I'm good. I'm gonna." Anyway, so like my narcissistic mom like loses this huge part of her identity, and that's when like she began to collapse. That was a huge part for her. And so I'm just doing other stuff in the wood shop, and she'd come in and like look at the projects and like, yeah, maybe you should do this, whatever. That doesn't work. And it was kind of discouraging. But then I was like, I don't know, whatever. I'm just gonna keep doing it because it makes me feel good. And around the same time too, I start my own business, and I've always wanted to own my own business. I started my own business, and it's awesome because it's earning me a living. I work for myself, and it's in like property restoration, like rural property maintenance, restoration, forestry, and I'm using kind of like medium-sized equipment to fix up people's places and maintain them and do that kind of work. And I'm starting this business, I'm making a living doing it, I'm supporting my family, but the narcissist, she hates it. She hates my business. She complains constantly about, I drive a diesel truck, I'm running equipment, I'll get a lot of trees and logs, and I came home with this redwood log that the power company had cut down, and I brought my equipment in and got it out, loaded it on my trailer. And I have a sawmill, so I was bringing it back to my sawmill to mill it up to then like do woodworking with it. Because otherwise, the power company, they just chip it up. It just gets turned into chips, or they just chuck it in a pile somewhere. So I was super stoked. The narcissist, I come home with this log and I pull in. I'm super stoked, and she loses her mind, and she's convinced that I drove to the redwood forest and I cut down this old growth redwood tree. And I loaded it on my trailer, and I drove back just to spite her. And now here's this log, and she's like super pissed about it. So it's like so delusional, man. Because in my mind, that was cool. I was salvaging this tree that otherwise would just get chipped up or burned or just laid to rot. And the other thing that was happening was, we burn a lot of firewood. We go through like 9 cords of firewood a year. And a lot of times, I salvage firewood from jobs, because the customers don't want them. I'm cutting down standing dead trees. And it's a huge resource, because before we would just buy firewood from one of the sawmills and then process it. But now I'm bringing home free firewood. And so she got all bent out of shape because she doesn't like seeing the logs. She sees the logs, and it's too triggering for her. Even though she lives in a stick frame home, her life is surrounded by industry and technology and wood products, but yet she doesn't want to see these logs that I'm getting for free and then spending the time to process and turn into firewood to offset our heating costs and even the costs that we're paying for electric and gas, and then also just buying firewood. So it's all super positive, but she's been out of shape about it. So my dad is like, oh, you need to hide the logs and don't let your mom see them, and can you process firewood somewhere else? And it's just like the delusion of this person. It's amazing. But anyway, it just goes to show that when you're the scapegoat and you naturally fall into that role of being the overachiever, it only works if it validates the narcissist's dreams of grandeur. That's when it only works in that case. If it doesn't fall in line with boosting up the narcissist's strange, world or vision of themselves. And even if it makes sense, like the firewood, that makes sense. Any rational person would be very thankful that their son's bringing home free firewood, processing it, and putting it in their barn to them. But not to her. And so, the way I've coped with this is, well, number one, figuring out that she's a raging narcissist, and that validating my own sense of worth based upon how she treats me that's never going to work. So that's a dead end road. So I can validate myself in other ways. And the other thing too is like, what I'm doing, is this positive? Is this beneficial? Is this helpful? I mean, it's a very simple compass that will guide you. Obviously, if it's not positive and beneficial and helpful to society, yourself, and the people around you, then just stop doing it. And even though, you know, the narcissist will twist it and make it seem like you're the worst person ever, you know, for salvaging a redwood tree, that then I built this like really cool mid-century modern bench out of. Of course, she hated it, but you know, it's okay at the end of the day to just let go of seeking validation from these people. And once you figure it out, it makes a lot more sense. And then you'll understand. You know, I understand so much more of my childhood and the way I behaved, and kind of like the directions I chose to go in my childhood and when I was a young adult as well. And I'm so thankful that really my wife came along and was the one who introduced the concept of narcissism to me, and allowed me to just start going down that path of like the truth and understanding for myself and reasoning in my own mind of what is going on. What is so strange about this? And I had already began, because I sobered up, I stopped drinking and stopped smoking weed. I really focused on my own health and well-being, and that allowed my mind to just be open to thinking and feeling and realizing something's wrong here. I didn't know what it was. So anyway, if you're a scapegoat overachiever, you know, welcome to the club. It's not all bad, because we are good at stuff. I am naturally good at things that I pursue. Like I'm learning oil painting now, and I just have this kind of knack to pick things up and understand them, because I put so much time and energy into that process. So I guess that's a positive. Anyway, well, thanks for watching, and hope you have a good day.